Glass shattered against marble, champagne flutes exploding like fireworks in the dim glow of a penthouse dawn. Marcus Hale lunged for the remote, his fingers slick with sweat, heart slamming as the screen burned her image into his soul. Sophia Voss, radiant in emerald silk, her lips curving in a smile that once shattered him with its heat. 10 billion, the anchor purred, a partnership that redefines empires. But her eyes, those storm-dark pools he drowned in during midnight confessions, her body arching beneath his in fevered surrender, now locked on a silver-haired stranger, his hand possessive at her waist, thumb tracing a promise that twisted Marcus's gut into knots. "Turn it off," Vivian hissed from the tangled sheets, her nails raking his arm, not in comfort, but demand. He couldn't. Not when the woman he'd abandoned for this hollow thrill stood unbreakable, her curves draped in victory, while their daughter's laughter echoed in his memory like a ghost caress. Welcome, beautiful souls, to Mr. Cael Stories, where whispers of the heart ignite the soul's deepest fires. To my loyal dreamers who've journeyed here before, your passion fuels these tales. Thank you for letting romance weave its spell. And to you, new flame flickering in, hit subscribe now, join the embrace, and let's lose ourselves together. Ever felt the ground shift when the one you crave reveals a hidden world? Picture pouring your nights into stolen touches, only to wake to a fortune veiled in shadows. When vows crack under passion's weight, can desire mend what's torn? What if forgiveness tasted like the sweetest revenge? Drop in the comments. What's the boldest secret love ever hid from you? Like if this pulls at your heartstrings, share with someone who needs this heat, and stay, because Sophia's fire is just beginning to burn. Fade to the amber haze of a corner office high above Manhattan's pulse, where Sophia Voss, then Hale, paced like a caged storm, her heels clicking against polished oak. The city sprawled below, a glittering web of ambition she navigated daily. But tonight her mind tangled elsewhere. Lila's latest flare-up had kept her homebound for days, the girl's whimpers slicing through conference calls like unanswered pleas. Sophia's biotech startup, Voss Innovations, teetered on the edge of breakthrough, her neural mesh prototype, a delicate lattice of biowires promising to soothe inflamed nerves with AI-guided pulses, had passed phase 2 trials. But funding? That beast demanded her presence, her fire even as Marcus's touches grew distant, his body a ghost in their bed. She'd met him 6 years prior at a rooftop mixer, rain threatening the skyline as thunder rumbled like a lover's growl. Marcus Hale, sharp-suited financier with eyes like smoked quartz, had cornered her by the bar, his breath warm against her ear. "You're the one rewriting brains," he'd said, voice low and laced with hunger. "But what's your secret fire?" She'd laughed, the sound bubbling like champagne encountered with a sip of her martini, her free hand brushing his cufflink, a deliberate spark. By midnight, in the elevator descending to the street, his mouth claimed hers, urgent and unyielding, fingers digging into her hips as the doors slid shut. "Sophia," he'd murmured against her neck, teeth grazing the pulse there. "Let me taste you." The descent blurred into ascent, her back against the mirrored wall, skirt hiked, his knee parting her thighs. He'd knelt then, breath hot on her skin, tongue delving with bold strokes that made her knees buckle, her gasps fogging the glass. When she shattered, fingers knotted in his hair, he rose, freeing himself to thrust home, deep, claiming, her legs locked around him as the elevator dinged, unnoticed. Their release a shared secret sealed in sweat and sighs. That night birthed Lila, their miracle wrapped in chaos. But ambition's grind wore grooves. Marcus's deals soured in the post-crash markets, his pride chafing against Sophia's rising star. "You're always gone," he'd accuse over cooling dinners, his fork stabbing steak like unresolved tension. Lila's diagnosis at 4 shattered the fragile peace, her tiny joints swelling, cries piercing the night. Sophia dove deeper into work, channeling grief into innovation, while Marcus withdrew, his evenings stretching into networking hours at dimly lit lounges. Enter Vivian Locke, the curator whose gallery openings pulsed with velvet ropes and veiled invitations. She spotted Marcus at a charity auction, his bid on an abstract nude, curves echoing Sophia's form, drawing her like a moth to flame. "Bold choice," she'd purred, sidling close, her perfume a sultry jasmine that clung like temptation. "It reminds me of forbidden fruit." Marcus, adrift in whiskey and weariness, felt the pull, her laugh light, unburdened by hospital runs or grant proposals. Their first touch was electric, a brush of fingers over auction paddles, her nail grazing his palm, sending heat coiling low. By week's end, in her atelier amid half-finished canvases, restraint crumbled. Vivian pushed him against the drop cloth, her mouth devouring his with feral grace, hands unbuckling his belt with practiced ease. "I've watched you," she whispered, sinking to her knees, lips parting to take him deep, slow, teasing swirls that hollowed his cheeks, her eyes locked on his as she hummed vibrations along his length. He gripped her hair, thrusting shallow, the raw edge of it chasing away Sophia's shadows. When he spilled, hot and urgent, she swallowed with a wicked smile, rising to straddle him on the studio floor, guiding him inside her slick heat. They moved in frantic harmony, her nails carving crescents down his back, breaths mingling in desperate cadence until climax gripped them. Bodies shuddering, the air thick with release's musk. Guilt flickered, but Vivian's whispers doused it. "She's chaining you to sickness and struggle. We could dance free." Marcus rationalized, Sophia's hobby draining them, her nights lost to lab coats while Vivian offered escape, her body a canvas of easy ecstasy. He drained accounts meant for Lila's therapies, funneling silk threads into Vivian's web of brunches and baubles. "I love you," he'd murmur to Sophia in perfunctory embraces, his thrusts mechanical, her sighs feigned to bridge the growing chasm. She felt it, the cooling sheets, his gaze averted, but buried it beneath proposals, the consortium's shadow looming. The call came at 4:17 a.m., Lila's fever breaking as Sophia cradled her in the clinic's sterile hush. Dr. Grant's voice cut through exhaustion. "Sophia, it's done, 10 billion. Your mesh will heal millions." Joy surged, electric, visions of Lila running free, of a future unchained. She wanted to call Marcus, share the blaze, but his phone rang to voicemail, laced with bar noise. Instead, she whispered to Lila's sleeping form, "We're rising, Petal, no more shadows." As dawn crept, Marcus signed the papers in Vivian's loft, the pen's scratch a severance. "It's freedom," Vivian cooed, her hand sliding under his shirt, nails teasing nipples to peaks. But even as he hardened, doubt gnawed. Sophia's fire, once his anchor, now a distant inferno, oh, he feared too late. If this stirs the embers of your own hidden longings, smash that like button. Your spark keeps these flames alive. Share with a lover who's weathered storms. Comment below. What's the one touch that still haunts your dreams? And subscribe if you crave more tales where passion redeems the broken. Next twist awaits. Sunlight sliced through the brownstone's blinds like accusations, gilding the divorce papers on the kitchen island. Sophia's tote thudded to the floor, organics for Lila's anti-inflammatory diet scattering like fallen soldiers. Cael leaves curling at the edges, a cruel echo of her daughter's gnarled fingers. Marcus's cologne lingered, sharp and alien now, the scent of a man reinvented without her. The ring atop the documents glinted mockingly, its inscription a lie etched in platinum. Eternal flame. She'd pawned her savings for it. 8 months of skipped lunches, dreaming of nights where his weight pinned her, breath sinking in the dark. Upstairs, Lila stirred, her voice a fragile thread. "Mama, the birds are singing funny today." Sophia ascended, masking the quake in her chest, sliding onto the bed's edge. The girl's skin radiated unnatural warmth, joints protesting even the sheet's whisper. "Just a new tune, love. Like us." Learning the melody. Lila's eyes, wide and trusting, searched hers. Daddy's tune stopped. "When's he singing again?" The words landed soft, slicing deep. Sophia gathered her close, inhaling the faint lavender of healing balms, her hand tracing soothing circles on Lila's back. The same rhythm she'd used to rock Marcus through his first lost deal. Bodies entwined in their loft's alcove. Her whispers against his temple, blending comfort with caress. "I am your melody now, Petal." Strong and steady, she read from Lila's worn copy of Starry Whispers, voices dancing warriors across galaxies, her tone unwavering even as resolve hardened within, like molten core forging diamond. The phone had buzzed mid-chapter. Nadia's text urgent, consortium confirmed. Press tomorrow. Celebrate. Then the gut twist. Marcus? Spotted with her. Vivian Locke. Drained the funds. Sophia descended post-bedtime, papers in hand, the legal prose a sterile blade. Irreconcilable. No alimony sought, custody waived. Signed 3 weeks prior, mid her DC pitch. Lila's fever spiking. He'd fled while she fought for their dawn. Nadia answered on the first ring, voice a whip crack. That snake. The therapy vault? Empty. Offshore to her name. Sophia's laugh emerged hollow, edged with steel. He bet on my ruin. Assumed the hobby wife would crumble. Silence, then Nadia's fierce grin, audible. Let the release hit like thunder. Public reveal. He'll choke on it. But fury's heat twisted inward, alchemizing to something primal. A reclaiming ache. Body awakening to neglect's toll. Lone in the shower's steam, water cascading like urgent fingers. Sophia's hands wandered, tracing breasts that Marcus once worshipped with open-mouth reverence. Thumbs circling peaks until they ached, echoing his teeth's gentle bite. Lower fingers delved, slick with more than soap, circling the bundle of nerves he had once teased to madness, building friction in slow spirals that drew gasps from her throat. Climax bloomed sharp, a solitary wave crashing against isolation's shore, leaving her slumped against tile, tears mingling with rivulets. Not grief for him, but for the woman she'd dimmed, curves softened by stress, fire banked for family. No more. Dawn brought action. Lawyers looped in, blocks erected on his lines. To Lila, over oatmeal laced with cinnamon dreams. Today's for us, Petal. A big adventure. The girl's smile cracked through pain, small hand clasping hers, fragile, fierce. Sophia dressed in armor, fitted blouse hugging her waist curve, skirt whispering against thighs, heels clicking purpose. The consortium atrium awaited, but first a mirror glance, lips reddened, eyes smoldering. She'd walk in not as wounded, but weaponized grace. Marcus, across the river in Vivian's lair, stirred to her nails, trailing his spine, a lazy invitation. Morning, King, she murmured, lips brushing his shoulder, hand dipping lower to stroke him awake. Firm pulls that coaxed a groan, her body arching to guide him between thighs already parting. Their joining was ritual now, quick, surface deep, her moans performative as he thrust, chasing fleeting highs. But mid-stroke, her phone chimed, sponsorships drying, whispers of his dead weight. She clenched around him tighter, urging release, but his mind wandered to Sophia's lithe form, the way she'd yield then demand, her inner walls fluttering in waves that milked him dry. As Sophia stepped into the light, resolve sealed her like a lover's vow. Betrayal's dawn birthed her empire. Passion's embers rekindled not in ashes, but anew. The atrium's glass dome captured midday sun, refracting it into a halo around Sophia as she ascended the podium, the plaque's weight settling like a crown. Dr. Elias Grant flanked her, his presence a gravitational pull, tall frame cutting through the crowd's murmur, silver threads in his hair catching light like starlit veins. His eyes, steel gray and piercing, met hers mid-speech, holding with an intensity that bypassed words, stirring embers low in her belly. This mesh, she declared, voice resonant, bridges not just mind and machines, but souls in their most fragile dance, trust woven into every fiber. The room hushed, sensing the undercurrent. Her words a caress, his nod a silent echo. Applause thundered as they retreated to the private suite, river views unfolding like a seduction. Champagne popped, bubbles rising like unspoken desires. Elias handed her a flute, fingers brushing hers, deliberate, electric, lingering a beat too long. You command without demanding, he said, voice a velvet rumble, close enough for her to catch his scent. Clean linen and subtle cedar, evoking forest depths. But who commands your surrender, Sophia? The question hung, intimate, peeling back her armor. She sipped, the fizz sharp on her tongue mirroring the spark in her veins. Lately, only the work. It asks everything, gives fragments. Vulnerability slipped free, aw's exposed wire. He stepped nearer, the sweet's hush amplifying heartbeats. Fragments can ignite holes. His hand cupped her elbow, thumb tracing a slow circle, innocent, incendiary, sending warmth pooling between her thighs. Conversation ignited, neural ethics bleeding into personal frontiers, the poetry of synapses firing in ecstasy's grip. Desire's the purest code, he confessed, gaze darkening. Unfiltered, rewriting us. Air thickened, charged. She leaned in, pulse thrumming at her throat, and his thumb rose to graze it, a feather's pressure that drew a soft inhale. The kiss ignited, his mouth firm, exploratory, lips parting hers with surgeon's precision turned carnal. Tongues met in languid duel, tasting champagne and hunger, her hands fisting his lapels to anchor the whirl. They tumbled to the balcony, city sprawl a distant hum, his back to the railing as she pressed close, hips aligning in instinctive grind. "Elias," she breathed, the name a plea, her fingers threading his hair, silken soft, silver-kissed. He groaned low, hands spanning her waist, thumbs dipping under silk to skim bare skin, igniting trails of goose flesh. Inside, on the chaise's plush expanse, urgency crested. He unzipped her sheath with reverence, fabric pooling like shed inhibitions, lips following the descent. Napes curve, shoulder blades hollow, spine's elegant arch. She stood bare, breath hitching under his gaze, appraising, adoring, the flush creeping from cheeks to breasts, nipples tightening in the cool air. "Exquisite," he murmured. Not flattery, but worship, kneeling as if before an altar. His hands parted her thighs, gentle command, breath ghosting her core's heat. Tongue first, broad, flat laps along her folds, savoring her essence with deliberate sweeps that coaxed whimpers, her hips canting forward. Then precision, tips circling her clit in tightening spirals. Suction light, then firm, building pressure until she bucked, fingers clenching his shoulders. "Please, more," she gasped, vulnerability bared in the plea. He obliged, one finger sliding inside her velvet clench, curling to stroke that hidden ridge, sinking with mouth's rhythm. Ecstasy fractured her, waves crashing, thighs quaking around his ears, cries spilling free as he lapped through the aftershocks, unrelenting tenderness. Rising, he shed layers with fluid grace, shirt revealing a chest etched with faint scars, relics of crisis-zone surgeries, each a map she traced with reverent fingertips. "These tell your stories," she whispered, lips following paths, tongue flicking a nipple to harden peak. He hissed, arousal straining against trousers, and she freed him, thick, veined, pulsing in her palm. Stroking slow, base to tip, she savored his velvet over steel, thumb smearing the bead at his crown. "Sophia, God," he growled, voice frayed, pulling her down to straddle his lap. She sank onto him, inch by exquisite inch, the stretch of burn blooming to bliss, walls fluttering around his girth. They moved in tidal harmony, her hips rolling in undulating waves, his hands gripping her ass to deepen angles, thumbs pressing divots. "So tight, so perfect for me," he rasped, mouth latching onto a breast, tongue swirling the peak as she arched, grinding harder. Tension coiled, breaths ragged, until he flipped her beneath him. Weight a delicious cage, thrusts measured yet profound, hitting depths that sparked stars, her nails scoring his back in red pleas. Release claimed them tandem, hers a shattering pulse, milking him, his hot surge filling her, bodies fused in quaking afterglow. Tangled in sheets, limbs entwined, vulnerability unfurled like petals. Marcus left, she confessed, head on his chest, tears tracing his skin, while I fought for Lila, for us. Elias's arms tightened, fingers combing damp strands. He glimpsed your blaze but fled its warmth. I crave every flicker, your mind's edge, your heart's depth. No pity, only anchor. In that hush, she glimpsed not rebound, but rebirth, desire's code recompiling her core. Below, Marcus paced Vivian's loft, the news replaying in loops, Sophia's poise a dagger. "She's untouchable," he muttered. But Vivian's laugh cut sharp. "Then claim her back. Your touch once owned her." Yet as she pulled him to bed, her caresses felt borrowed, echoes of Sophia's true fire. Vivian's penthouse perched like a gilded trap, floor to ceiling windows framing a city that mocked Marcus's freefall. The morning after the broadcast, he roamed its expanse, channels flipping to Sophia's face, her laugh light in an interview clip, Elias's arm a casual claim around her shoulders. Jealousy coiled, visceral, twisting into longing for nights when her body yielded to his like clay under thumbs. "We were electric," he whispered to the empty air, sinking onto the leather sectional, hand absently palming the ache stirring at the memory. Their first true storm, a blackout in their early loft, candles guttering as thunder shook the walls. Sophia, drenched from the dash home, peeled off her blouse, water beating on his skin like jewels. Cold, she'd shivered, but her eyes burned invitation. Marcus had drawn her to the rug, towels forgotten, mouth tracing droplets from collarbone to valley, tongue laving the salt of her. Warm me, she'd demanded, voice husky, guiding his head lower. He'd obliged, parting lace to delve, tongue plunging deep, then flicking her clit with rapid precision, her thighs clamping his ears as she writhed, fingers bruising his scalp. Marcus, yes, her cry fracturing as climax bowed her back, essence flooding his mouth. Rising, he'd entered her in one fluid surge, her legs hitching high, ankles crossing at his waist, thrusts built frantic, skin slapping, breaths panting, until she clenched, pulling his release in hot pulses, collapsing in a heap of limbs and low laughter. Now Vivian's touch jarred against that ghost. She sauntered in, robes slipping to bare a shoulder, eyes calculating. Obsessed? She teased, straddling his lap, grinding against his half-hearted swell. Her kiss demanded, teeth nipping his lip, hand delving to stroke him firm, efficient pulls that coaxed response, but no flame. Forget her, she breathed, sinking down, inner walls gripping in practiced vice. They rocked in mechanical tide, her moans theatrical, nails raking his chest as he chased friction, spilling with a grunt that echoed hollow. She dismounted swiftly, checking her reflection. Better? But fractures spiderwebbed. Sigwigan, clients ghosted his firm, whispers of embezzlement, abandonment of a sick child rippling through networks. Sophia's silence amplified. Damien, his partner, cornered him in the boardroom, boxes packed like gravestones. You gutted the future fund for this? Damien jabbed a thumb toward Vivian's photo on Marcus's phone, her pose all sultry artifice. Clients bolt. I'm out, selling my share to the vultures circling. Marcus's plea cracked. We built this, give me time. Damien's laugh barked cold. You built a pyre, burn in it. Desperation clawed. Bob calls the Sophia's line dead-ended at automated frost. He stormed the brownstone, gate buzzing denial. Security's glare a wall. Tell her it's me, Marcus. I need to explain. The guard's radio crackled, then, no entry, sir. Move along. Pacing the curb, rain slicking his coat, he glimpsed movement. Elias's SUV gliding in, Sophia emerging, her laugh floating like smoke as the doctor's hand settled low on her back, fingers splaying possessive. The door shut, sealing them in warmth Marcus once owned. Delirium birthed plans, corner Nadia at the next gala, beg intermediaries. Vivian's web tightened then loosened. Her lunches with Ronan, the yacht heir stretched late, returning with wine-kissed lips and excuses. Networking, she'd purr, but her phone's glow betrayed texts. Miss your edge. When? Marcus confronted over chilled Prosecco. Him? After everything? Vivian's shrug sliced. You promised assent. This is plateau. Their argument ignited rare heat, her shoving him against the island, mouths clashing in bruising kiss, hands yanking belts free. She bent over marble, skirt hiked, urging him inside with a backward glance. He thrust hard, punishing rhythm, gripping hips as she gasped. Real this time, walls fluttering in tight welcome. Harder, she demanded, pushing back, climax ripping through her in shudders that dragged his own, spilling deep with a guttural curse. But after sprawled on cool stone, her words chilled. We upgrade or fade. Choose. Echoes pursued, his brother's call, Wesley's voice laced with ash. Lila asked for you. Ushamaim. In whispers like a secret shame. Sophia, she's steel now, building worlds while you chase smoke. Marcus's throat closed. Tell her I'm trying. Wesley's pause wounded. Trying's late. She's found someone who stays. Vivian's exit came swift. Suitcases by dawn, Ronan's key in her palm. You were the bridge, not the destination. Door clicked shut, leaving Marcus in silence. Body cooling, memories of Sophia's curves. Soft, demanding. A torment he couldn't slake. If second chances whisper your name, hit like, let's fan those hopes. Share this with a heart that's wandered. Comment. Ever chased a ghost only to find a fiercer light? Subscribe for the flames that forge new paths ahead. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of stolen breaths. Sophia and Elias carving sanctuaries amid empire's roar. Dawn runs along the reservoir became ritual. Mist-shrouded paths where footfalls synced, sweat beating on skin like dew. One fog-laced morning, exertion's heat peaked, her ponytail loose, cheeks flushed, as they paused by ancient oaks, backs to bark. "Your poetry in motion," Elias murmured, crowding close, his chest heaving against hers. Fingers tangled in her tank's hem, lifting to bare midriff, palms splaying hot over navel. She arched, lips seeking his in salty kiss, tongues dueling with runner's urgency. He spun her gently, front to tree, hands sliding under waistband, teasing folds already slick with more than mist. "Here?" she gasped, thrill lacing fear, thighs parting instinctive. Two fingers plunged deep, curling in knowing arcs, thumb circling clit with insistent pressure. "Everywhere," he vowed, mouth at her nape, teeth grazing as she rocked back, whimpers lost to wind. Build swift, merciless, her walls clenching, release cresting in muffled cry, knees buckling into his arm's brace. He withdrew glistening fingers, offering them to her lips. She sucked clean, eyes locked, the act of vow of shared hunger. Evenings unfurled in his loft's austerity, exposed brick and vast bed, city lights painting shadows on sheets. Elias blindfolded her with his teeth by silk whisper over eyes, senses sharpening to his footfalls, the clink of ice. "Trust the dark," he breathed, cube trailing her collarbone, melting in rivulets to navel. Gooseflesh rose. She shivered as it dipped lower, circling peaks to diamond points, then in her thighs tender crease. "Elias, please." The plea earned his chuckle, low and dark, before mouth replaced ice, hot tongue lobbing chilled trails, suckling breasts with open reverence, teeth tugging nipples until she bowed. Hands pinned wrists above head, he descended, breath fanning core, then tongue delving. Long, languid strokes parting folds, savoring her like rare vintage. Fingers joined, scissoring stretch, as these suction on clit built inexorable. She shattered vocal, hips bucking, blindfold damp with tears of overload. He freed himself then, cock heavy in hand, guiding her to all fours. Entry from behind, slow breach, inching deep until seated flush. Her moan vibrating through them. Hands gripped hips, thrusts commencing measured. Pulling near exit before slamming home. Angle grazing that inner spark. "Feel me," he growled, palm cracking lightly on flank, the sting blooming heat that coiled tighter. She pushed back, meeting force, inner muscles rippling in counterpoint. One hand snaked forward, fingers pinching clit in time. The dual assault undid her, climax ripping free in waves, dragging his own, hot jets painting her depths as he collapsed over her back. Breath's ragged harmonies. Vulnerability wove through passion's weave. Post-coital hushes where she'd trace his scars, lips following ridges. "These saved lives," she'd say, voice soft. "But who mends yours?" Elias's gaze would soften, fingers lacing hers. A decade's marriage, sterile, safe, ended in quiet fracture. I built walls fearing blaze. Confession drew hers, abandonment's scar, Marcus's drift, leaving her adrift. I poured into Lila, into work, but my body, it starved. He'd pull her atop, entering slow, tender, gazes locked, movements a gentle tide. "Let me nourish," he'd whisper, thrust shallow rocks, hands cradling breasts, thumbs circling peaks in soothing cadence. Climax built languid, shared, hers fluttering soft, his spilling warm, sealing truths in afterglow's glow. Lila's integration bloomed tentative, then vibrant. Elias joined a park picnic, basket unpacked on checkered cloth, strawberries dipped in chocolate. Lila's delight bubbling as he explained neural bridges with sketched diagrams on napkins. "Like magic wires in your super brain?" she asked, joints easing under Swiss infusions funded by the pact, her steps tentative but unaided. He knelt, eye level. "Magic's just science with heart, little bridge builder." Her giggle peeled, hand slipping into his, trust's quiet gift. Later, twilight confessional. "You make mama's eyes sparkle, like stars waking." Elias's throat tightened. "Your mama's a constellation, and you, her brightest." Sophia's heart swelled, watching them. Lila's curls catching sunset. Elias's patience a balm. That night, in bed's haven, gratitude turned carnal. She pushed him supine, straddling with predatory grace, hands pinning shoulders. "For her, for us," she breathed, sinking onto his length. velvet glide drawing mutual groans. Hips circled lazy, grinding deep, her breasts swaying in his reach, mouth latching, tongue swirling as she rode faster, walls clenching in deliberate pulses. "Sophia, yours!" he gasped, hips bucking up to meet, hands bruising thighs. Release crashed mutual, hers a keening arch, his surging fill, bodies quaking in unified tremor. Marcus's shadows lengthened, eviction notices, bar stools as thrones, toasts to ghosts. A chance sighting, Sophia and Elias entwined at cafe, her head on his shoulder, laughter intimate, fueled fevered nights alone. Hand fisting cock to visions of her surrender, release bitter as regret. Orchids cascaded from the conservatory's lattice like frozen waterfalls, string lights weaving a canopy over Lila's remission gala. Donors in bespoke finery mingling with champagne flutes, air humming with toasts to miracles. Sophia glided through, emerald silk clinging to curves like a second skin, plunging neckline a daring frame for collarbones hollow. Elias shadowed her, arm a warm anchor at her waist, fingers splaying low, subtle claim, thumb dipping to trace hip bones curve, sending private shivers. "You steal breaths tonight," he murmured, lips brushing ear, breath hot promise. She leaned back, ass nestling his growing insistence, a teasing grind masked by crowd sway. "Save the theft for later," she whispered, nipping his lobe, the spark coiling low. Lila twirled nearby, gown swirling around mended limbs, remission's gift, joints fluid as her laughter. "Dance with me, Elias," she called, and he obliged, sweeping her into gentle spins, her giggles peeling as Sophia watched. Heartful. Vulnerability's edge softened by this tapestry of chosen kin. Chaos breached at interval. Marcus, tux rumpled like his resolve, slipped past lax periphery, eyes wild scanning the bloom. Security converged, but Sophia's gesture halted them, curiosity laced with blade. "Let him air his storm. Alcove, 5 minutes." Elias's hand tightened, jaw set, but he nodded, sentinel in shadow. Marcus cornered her amid potted ferns, voice fracturing. "So, you're a vision. The deal. Lila's glow. I torched paradise for fool's chase." Knees buckled. He gripped a chair, tears carving paths. "Vivian, mirage shattered, left for brighter shores. But us, that cab, rain on skin, your taste on my tongue, I wake aching for it." Memories clawed their fevered cab ride, her thighs parting under his questing hand, fingers plunging, slick as she rode waves to peak, then guiding him inside, tight, welcoming. Thrusts jolting the seat until release sealed them, fogged windows veiling the world. Sophia's gaze iced, stepping close, not mercy but mirror to his fracture. Fingers ghosted his jaw, parody of old intimacies, dropping like severed thread. "Electric, fleeting current. You chose drift over depth." Voice velvet thorned. "Desire demands endurance, Marcus. Yours waned at first ache." Elias materialized, arm encircling her possessively, lips pressing temple. A brand in view. Marcus's face ashen, twist landing, not solitude but supplantation by superior flame. "Truth, Hail," Elias intoned, calm steel. "Love's no possession, it's shadowed partnership." He steered Sophia away, toward Gala's heart, Lila's dance resuming under lights. But Alcove's echo lingered. Vivian's arrival, uninvited, slinking through doors on Ronan's arm, her gaze locking Marcus's. Cruel curl. "Darling, upgrades await." Twist doubled, her whisper to Ronan audible. His ex, ripe for scandal. Leverage. But Ronan demurred, eyes on Sophia's ascent. Vivian's mask cracked, isolation's bite sharp. Sophia excused to powder room, pulse thrum from confrontation. Door clicked shut. Elias followed, pinning her to marble vanity, mirrors multiplying their heat. "Magnificent," he growled, hiking silk, fingers finding lace-damp core, parting to stroke swollen folds. "Unshakable." She gasped, legs parting wider, hands fisting his hair as a mouth claimed throat, teeth marking pulse. "Elias, now." Risk thrilled, vulnerability raw, betrayal's aftertaste transmuted in his touch. He dropped to knees, gown bunched at waist, tongue replacing fingers. Broad laps devouring essence, then pinpoint flicks on clit that bucked her hips. "So responsive," he hummed, vibrations spiking pleasure, two fingers curling inside to stroke that ridge, sinking suction's pull. Climax built ferocious, thighs quaking, bite-lipped cry as waves crested, drenching his chin. Rising, he freed straining length, lifting her to perch on edge. Entry swift, deep, her ankles crossing at his back. Thrusts powerful, measured, hitting depths that sparked aftershocks, hand muffling moans as vanity rattled. Mine, all mine, he rasped, circling clit in tandem, drawing her second peak, walls pulsing vice, milking his surge, hot and claiming, bodies shuddering in hushed fusion. They righted disheveled, his kiss sealing. Your strength ignites me. Re-entering fray, Sophia's poise unbroken, Marcus slunk to bar. Vivian's rejection fresh, her alliance with Ronan crumbling under Gala's glare, whispers of her frauds surfacing like bubbles. Climax's ash. Marcus fled into night, Hudson's chill mocking his solitude. Sophia's light a beacon he'd eclipsed himself from. Months wove forward like healing scars, Lila's world expanding, soccer fields conquered with boundless sprints, school sketches of neural bridges earning teacher awe. I want to build them, Mama, like Elias, she'd declare over breakfast, crayons flying. Sophia's empire burgeoned, Voss innovations mesh deploying in clinics, lives mended through her vision's grace, but anchors rooted deeper. Elias's presence, steady as dawn, transforming house to hearth. Their union deepened in quiet intensities. Sunday lazes where he'd wake her with mouth's worship, tongue tracing seam's length, lazy circles blooming to fervent suction, fingers joining to stretch and curl until she arched awake, climax's glow chasing sleep's veil. Good morning, he'd grin, silver eyes alight, before she'd claim reciprocity. Lips enveloping his length, slow bobs hollowing cheeks, hand-twisting bass until he bucked, spilling down her throat with grown devotion. Vulnerability's threads bound tighter. Evenings by firelight, her head in his lap, confessions flowing. Fears of Lila's echoes recurring, his admissions of isolation's cage. You freed us both, he'd say, drawing her astride. Entry tender glide. Movements a rocking lullaby, gazes entwined, hands linked. Release a shared sigh, blooming soft. Twists resolved in subtlety. Marcus's anonymous wire to Lila's legacy fund, traced to his warehouse wage. Ghost's penance, undelivered. Sophia discovered via Ledger's whisper, check incinerated in hearth maw. Atonement's his alone, she told Elias, flames dancing in their kiss. Vivian's fall cascaded, gallery indictments for pilfered art, Ronan's swift discard leaving her adrift, echoes of Marcus's ruin a mirror she shattered in solitary rage. Lila's voice, over terrace stargaze, Elias stays, like you. Her hand in theirs formed trinity, biology's limits eclipsed by choices forged. Moral crystallized, love's true measure endures tempests, betrayal's forge birthing resilient blaze, passion's renewal in arms that hold fast. Marcus, in modest quarters, sobriety's grip firm, glimpsed their life through veiled feeds. Lila's triumphs, Sophia's radiance beside Elias. Regret tempered to acceptance, his letters unsent, a drawer of folded truths. Warehouse shifts built quiet pride, therapy's mirror reflecting change's cost. Not reunion, but self's reclamation. In penthouse hush, Sophia traced Elias's jaw as he moved above. Slow, profound, body's testament to want's evolution. You chose me, she breathed, legs locking deeper, walls fluttering welcome. Through every shadow. His smile, feral tender, thrust home as she crested, cries intertwining, symphony of fulfillment, desire's ledger balanced in bliss. Legacy bloomed, Sophia's foundation, neural aids for afflicted youth, Lila's face its emblem, proof wounds seed wonders when tended by steadfast hands. If this warms your core, like to stoke the fire, your glow sustains. Share with souls seeking dawn after dusk. Comment, how has love's trial forged your strongest self? And subscribe, darlings, more hearths await kindling. As embers settle in Sophia's hearth, her empire not just steel and synapse, but woven of touches that linger, choices that bind. Remember, beautiful wanderers, betrayal's chill forges the hottest hearths, when desire dares rebuild from ruin's glow. You've journeyed this blaze with me, hearts entwined in its heat, Thank you for every shared breath, every spark you've fanned. To my devoted constellation, those who've subscribed and returned, your loyalty's the starlight guiding these tales. Immense gratitude. You've made this channel a sanctuary of stories that stir the soul. And to newcomers, drawn by tonight's flame, welcome home. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. Let's chase more sunrises together, where romance whispers redemption. If Sophia's ascent echoes your own quiet victories, drop a like. It's fuel for the next inferno. Share this with a heart-nursing hidden fires. In comments, bear a piece. What's the passion that rose from your deepest fracture? Your words weave our communal tapestry. Next whisper, a tale of forbidden glances in shadowed halls, where a single touch unravels empires of restraint, enemies to lovers, with stakes that pulse like second hearts. Teaser. She guarded her throne with ice. He melted it with one defiant kiss. Crave the thaw? Subscribe now, premiere drops soon, and your spot in the front row awaits. Until our paths cross again, carry this warmth. Love's not in the fall, but the fierce rise. Dream deep, love boldly. This is Mr. Cael Stories, where every ending births a bolder beginning.